They tell you the heart of an empire beats with gold, with armies, with the Sultan's iron will. They lie. The true, most guarded truth, the very bedrock upon which a dynasty stands, is not power, but purity. The pure, unbroken current of the bloodline. And that purity, my friends, was defiled. It is about this stain that the very stones of this palace whisper. A forbidden secret, buried beneath layers of pomp and prestige, yet breathing still. I did not merely read the scrolls, though I have devoured countless, their brittle parchment crumbling to dust in my hands. No, I felt the slow, steady settling of that same dust on forgotten deeds, on unwritten histories. I felt the cold, unexpressed truths seeping from these very walls, clinging to the heavy silks and polished marble like the morning mist. I have stood behind these pillars, unseen, unheard, a ghost among the living, and watched the silent machinations of a court where a gilded smile could be a dagger and a whispered word a death sentence. Here, where absolute power casts its longest shadow, something far more lethal than any enemy blade stirred in the depths of ambition. You hear the grandeur, perhaps you imagine the glory, the endless feasts, the glittering jewels. But I sense the creeping chill of a betrayal so profound it threatened to unravel the very fabric of the empire. A serpent coiled in the heart of the Sultan's own chambers. Do you understand the weight of such a secret? The burden of a truth so fiercely guarded, it could shatter the very world these walls protect. Look closely. Even now, in the deepest silence of these marble halls, one might catch it. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper. The rustle of silk, light as a phantom's touch, where no silk should ever glide. A shadow, unwelcome yet persistent, an uninvited guest in a world built on rigid order. A reminder of a secret too dangerous to speak, too potent to ever truly die. This is the breath of a scandal that changed everything, a silent poison in the veins of a dynasty, a venomous legacy passed down through a game of queens where the only prize was survival. They speak of scandal within these gilded walls, whispering of clandestine meetings and stolen glances, of hearts swayed and vows broken. But what if the true scandal was far more profound? Not the rash folly of passion, but the cold, calculating hand that sought to reshape the very fabric of time, to rewrite the sacred chronicle of a bloodline. Look closely, my dears, beyond the shimmer of jewels and the heavy drape of silk, and you will find a truth far more chilling than any whispered indiscretion. There was a figure, you see, whose shadow stretched longer than any title she bore. Not a queen by birth, perhaps, but by sheer unyielding will. She moved through these hallowed halls with the quiet grace of a predator, her gaze rarely meeting another's directly, yet missing nothing. For her, the grand game of queens was not a contest of hearts, but a brutal, elegant dance of survival, where the prize was not affection, but absolute supremacy. She understood, with a clarity that bordered on the divine, that a dynasty's strength lay not merely in its armies or its coffers, but in the purity of its succession. And what if that purity, that unbroken chain, could be subtly, meticulously, irrevocably altered? Not through poison in a goblet, nor a dagger in the dark, but through an act so audacious, so intricate, it defied the very notion of discovery. A substitution. A careful, whispered exchange that would forever distort the flow of royal blood, ensuring her own progeny, or one she deemed worthy, would sit upon the throne. Imagine the mind capable of such a feat. A strategist of the soul, weaving a web of deceit so fine, so delicate, that its threads were invisible even to the most vigilant eye. Each movement, each word, each feigned gesture of affection or sorrow, a deliberate stitch in a tapestry of lies. The palace hummed with life, yet within her sphere there was a profound, almost terrifying silence. The kind of silence that precedes a storm, or perhaps the kind that follows an act so immense the world has yet to register its tremor. It was not about love, I assure you. Love is a fleeting ember in these palaces, easily extinguished. This was about lineage, about securing a future, not just for herself, but for an imagined destiny that only she could truly perceive. Her ambition was a boundless ocean, and she navigated its treacherous currents with a compass forged from ice and an iron will. She understood that loyalty could be bought, fear could be cultivated, and even truth, in the right light, could be bent. And sometimes, in the dead of night, when the palace guards walked their rounds and the very stones seemed to hold their breath, a curious thing would happen. A letter, perhaps from a distant dignitary, or a personal missive meant for the Sultan's private study, would be found. Not where it should be, mind you. Perhaps on a console in the Grand Hall, or tucked beneath a cushion in a lesser chamber. Its crimson wax seal, though largely intact, would bear the faintest mark. A tiny scratch, a hairline fracture, barely visible unless one knew precisely where to look. A whisper, you see, of a secret hidden within, a seal broken and then, with painstaking care, resealed. A subtle, almost imperceptible hint of the delicate manipulations that constantly reshaped the dynasty's very foundations, right beneath the nose of power. A testament to a mind that saw not just the game, but every single thread of the intricate web. This, my friends, was the true scandal. Not a stain upon a name, but a wound upon the soul of a bloodline. The air in Topkapi was a constant hum of secrets, a symphony of whispers echoing through marble halls, swallowed by velvet drapes. We, who stand in the shadows, hear it all. And sometimes even the most meticulously guarded silence can be broken by an unexpected note. Old Elias, hunched over parchment in the Sultan's private archives, was a creature of habit. Dust, ink, and the slow march of time were his only companions. For decades he had catalogued every decree, every birth, every death that shaped this dynasty. He knew the palace's pulse better than the physicians. But lately a disquiet had settled upon him, a faint tremor in the meticulously crafted narratives he guarded. A tiny discrepancy, like a single thread pulled from a magnificent silk tapestry, had begun to unravel a truth too vast, too terrible to comprehend. He'd found it in the Ledger of Births, a minor entry concerning a minor consort years ago. Then, a cross-reference in the registry of the royal nurseries. 2 dates, just days apart, for events that should have been weeks, months. An error, he'd first dismissed it. But Elias was not a man who dismissed details. He continued to pull, gently, patiently, guided by a scholar's instinct, a quiet dread building in his ancient bones. The subtle alteration of a birth year here, a conveniently lost record there. He connected the dots, his fingers trembling over the brittle vellum. This was not a mistake. This was a lie. A foundation built on sand, a claim to the very bloodline that pulsed through these walls questioned. The weight of it pressed down, suffocating. He realized, with a chill that permeated his very soul, that he held in his hands the undoing of a queen, perhaps even the Sultan himself. A scandal so profound it could shatter the empire. He sat there, illuminated by a single flickering oil lamp, the only witness to his discovery. The silence of the archive was suddenly predatory, thick with untold stories and hidden agendas. Did he truly believe he was alone? Ah, how naive the truth-seeker can be. For in this palace, no truth remains unobserved, no secret undisturbed, especially when it threatens the delicate balance of power. A breath, a rustle, so faint it could have been the wind or the settling dust of centuries. Elias looked up, his eyes wide with a terror that transcended his scholarly calm. He clutched the evidence, a tiny scroll, to his chest. He was about to rise, to speak, to expose. Then, a sudden inexplicable gust. The flame in his oil lamp wavered, danced, and then, with a soft hiss, died. Darkness. Absolute, suffocating darkness. And then, silence. A silence that was not empty, but full. Full of what had been, and what now never would be. The archives resumed their ancient vigil, guarding secrets once more, and old Elias? He simply vanished, like a whisper in the wind, leaving behind only the ghost of a truth, unrevealed, unheard. What price do you think is paid for such a silence? And who, my dear, holds the power to extinguish not just a flame, but a life with such seamless grace? The air, you see, it still remembers. Even now, decades later, a chill whispers through these chambers, a phantom echo of the silence that fell upon the palace. A silence so profound, it swallowed screams whole, buried truths deeper than any grave. The fall, when it came, was not a thunderclap, but a slow, suffocating descent, orchestrated with the precision of a master artisan weaving a tapestry of lies. Every strand of silk, every shadowed corner became complicit. And what of the secret? It was buried, yes, beneath layers of gold and forgotten decrees, beneath the smiles of courtiers and the heavy tread of the Sultan's guard. But a secret, truly buried, leaves scars on the earth above, does it not? Imagine, if you will, the lives broken in its wake. A name, once whispered with hope, now meticulously scratched from scrolls, erased from the ledgers of memory. A face, once bright, now merely a ghost in the collective consciousness, deemed never to have existed. This is the price of preserving a bloodline, of protecting a dynasty built on sand and ambition. But the cost, the cost was far heavier than mere erasure. It was the perpetual fear, a cold serpent coiled in the gut of every soul privy to the truth. Did they truly sleep soundly, those who stood witness? Or did the rustle of a silken gown in the deepest hour stir a terror colder than any blade, a dread that any misstep, any whispered word, could unravel the carefully constructed facade? This is the consequence of concealment, not peace, but a gilded cage of paranoia, where every shadow holds a potential betrayer, every fleeting glance a hidden accusation. No one in this ruthless game of queens and kings emerges unblemished. There are no good or bad souls here, only the surviving, each stained by the choices made under the heavy crown. The mothers who sacrificed their own, the fathers who turned a blind eye for the sake of power, the silent servants who carried out unspeakable acts, all bound by a collective guilt, a shared secret that eats at the very core of their being. For the throne demands sacrifice, an offering not of lambs, but of innocence, of truth, of humanity itself. Look around you. Can you feel it? The weight of what remains unspoken. It's like a grand mirror, shattered in a moment of fury, then painstakingly reassembled. Its surface, polished and gleaming, reflects the splendor of the palace, the power of the empire. But in its countless cracks, in the jagged lines where the pieces meet, forever lies the fractured image of the past, a truth no one dares to see, a silent accusation that only the stones themselves truly remember. And it waits, always, for the day someone might dare to look closer. The dust settled, as it always does. The silk curtains drawn tight, muffled whispers. But silence in these chambers is rarely empty. It is a vessel, holding not just what is unsaid, but what is unseen. The scandal, a storm threatening the Sultanate's foundations, was meticulously buried beneath denial, forced smiles. A truth too dangerous to breathe, too potent for the light of day. It became a shadow. Not a fleeting one, but an inherent darkness woven into the palace's fabric, a perpetual twilight clinging to the bloodline. Think of it, a magnificent tapestry, centuries in the making, depicting a mighty dynasty's glories. Each thread, a life. Each color, a reign. Beautiful, isn't it? But look closer. Near its heart, a single silken thread, barely discernible, cunningly concealed, began to fray. A tiny rupture, an imperfection, born from that long-forgotten betrayal. It did not unravel quickly, that would be too merciful. Instead, it pulled, imperceptibly, year after year, subtly distorting the entire pattern. Generations would trace their fingers, marveling at the artistry, never knowing the weave's strength was compromised by that one silent lie. The cost of such a secret, my friends, is paid in destiny. How many futures reshaped, hopes extinguished, dreams turned to ash? An empty cradle, perhaps, stood testament to a promise unfulfilled, a lineage diverted, a crown never to rest upon its destined head. The whisper of a forgotten poison seeped not into the body, but into the soul of a dynasty, twisting fates from within. The women of the palace, ambitious queens and consorts, played their ruthless game for power. But they played on a board already tilted, their moves undermined by a force they could not name, a weight they could not shed. They felt it, even if they didn't understand. That chill on a summer's night, that inexplicable melancholy clinging to the silk, that sense of watchful shadows. They struggled, schemed, sacrificed, but a secret truly buried does not die. It merely slumbers, its breath a faint vibration in the palace stones, its echoes resonating through the halls, through successive sultans, through the hearts of those who inherited its legacy. And so, the greatest danger is not in the truth revealed, but in the truth concealed. For what cannot be known, cannot be fought, it becomes a ghost, a silent partner in every decision, birth and death. It shapes a future without announcing its presence. Look around you, even now. Can you not feel it? The lingering chill of the unspoken, the quiet hum of a secret that still, after all these centuries, seeks its resolution? This palace, this empire, built upon power, yes, but also upon silence. And that silence, my dear ones, is the loudest sound of all.